those who listen regularly may well be familiar with the name Without Wings. And we first spoke with the founder of the charity, Jacqueline Murray Grace, shortly after she created it to help raise awareness about conditions of autoimmune and juvenile arthritis. Well, since then, Jackie has hosted a number of fundraising and educational events. The next one is taking place this weekend on Sunday evening and features 2 guest speakers with remarkable stories to share. And I'm delighted to say that we are joined by Jackie and also one of the speakers now, Katy Hoogendam. Lovely to have you both with us. Katy, first of all, I mean, I mentioned that you were diagnosed at the age of just 11 months. I mean, so essentially you've never known life without this condition. What has it meant for you? I grew up having to live with stiffness, fatigue, chronic pain. I felt like, I was never going to get better. I felt like I didn't have a future. I felt like eventually I'd be stuck in a wheelchair. I couldn't exercise. It was a very hard upbringing for me.
And what sort of treatment have you been through for it?
I've been on multiple different drugs. When I was first diagnosed, I've, been on prednisone, methotrexate, Planquil, baby aspirin, just a number. But recently, I've been on Enbrel since I was 10, and that's what I've been on currently, and it's helped a lot.
But the problem is that lots of these drugs come with pretty significant side effects, don't they?
Right. Yeah, which fatigue is a huge side effect. Just feeling tired all the time. But not as all the drugs that I've been on, it's never helped the pain. I've always been in pain.
And the thing about as well, this condition, and we've talked about this with other people, Jackie, before, haven't we, is that it also impacts on the family, doesn't it? How did your family cope with you having this from such a young age?
It was difficult. My parents, have been very loving, very, they did what, at the time, they did what they thought was best. And growing up as a child, my sister would always try to defend me from being bullied by, other kids and neighbor kids and stuff like that, because it also stunted my growth. So I was about half the size of everybody my age, so.
Is there anything known about why you developed this condition? Did it run in the family? I mean, what made it happen?
That's kind of, my aunt has arthritis in her fingers, but that's about it. Nothing compared to what I have. But my doctors believe, because at 5 months I had chicken pox, which is a fairly young age to have it. So my doctors think that I was born with a low immune system, and then the chicken pox kind of awoke the arthritis. So.
And was it something that your own doctor was aware of? Did they know much about the condition at the time? And were there any sort of people in your community who had it as well that you could speak to?
When it just all of a sudden showed up, because I was born healthy, and one morning, at 10 months old, my mom woke me up to my ankles being completely swollen. She couldn't even get my shoes on my feet. And so she was, of course, she had no idea what was going on. And so they took me to multiple different doctors at the hospital, and at first they thought that my leg was broken, so they put a cast on my leg, but that did nothing. And then they thought of child abuse, but that was quickly ruled out. And so it took about a month before they finally figured out that I had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and so that at first that's when they put me on the baby aspirin and the prednisone. But even then it just raged through me. It did not, the arthritis just was horrible.
And you talked about the fact that obviously you just have to live with this constant pain, which just is unthinkable really, Katy. But in terms of prognosis and how the condition's going to develop, I mean, have you been told what to expect with that regard?
They told my parents when I was first diagnosed, they said that there's no cure, that I'd have it for my entire life. But they said most likely I could look forward to remission in my 20s. So they said at the time they would focus on minimizing joint deformities and pain relief. And so that's what they tried to do at the beginning.
And you are in your 20s now, obviously. And one thing that I find quite astonishing with everything that you're telling us now is you have just recently competed in the USA Yoga Championships. That must be really physically demanding. How on earth did you manage that?
Well, growing up, exercise was very, very difficult. I did not exercise. I tried ballet for a year, but that was too hard on my ankles and stuff. I tried swimming. I couldn't do that because I was so stiff. But then in 2017, I started a program called the Pattison Program for rheumatoid arthritis. And basically, it's a series of exercise and diet and to reverse your symptoms naturally. And so that has completely turned my life around. I woke up the second day on the program, I woke up to no morning stiffness at all, increased energy levels. It's been absolutely amazing. So and then within a month, the Clint Pattison, who's the one who started the program, he encouraged me to start Bikram hot yoga. And so that's when I started the yoga. And when my first class, I remember was really bad. I could hardly balance at all for maybe like a second. It was extremely painful, but afterwards I felt so good when I walked out. And so I was like, I'm going to keep doing this. And the teachers were so inspiring and encouraging to me. And so within the next couple months, I started noticing more flexibility and range of motion in my spine and my feet and my ankles. Like no other exercise have I felt so good afterwards. And so within a couple months, one of my yoga teachers talked to me about, she's like, well, why don't you try the yoga competition? And at first I was like, no way. But then I thought about it and I was like, that'd be a good way to set a goal for myself and to kind of grow myself. And so I started, just practicing different yoga poses for that. And it's been, so the competition was in March this year. And it was a huge experience for me. And just watching everybody else compete in all their beautiful yoga poses, and they treated me as one of their own, which really meant a lot to me.
And were they aware of your condition before you started doing this? The other people that were taking part in the competition?
My yoga teacher was, of course, she knew about my condition and all that. And there's actually a man named Joseph Insignia who is an international yoga champion, and he also has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and so he was sort of my inspiration. And I kind of looked up to him. He's absolutely amazing. So my main reason is to kind of inspire other people with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and others with autoimmune arthritis as well, that they can do anything,